1, 2, is this on?
Wrestling is best when it's live, but not everything that originally happened finds its way onto streaming platforms or TV.
And he was the biggest babyface star in the company, and I was supposed to be heel, and they booed him out of the building, and they cheered for me, and when that aired in the United States, you didn't hear any "We want Christian, Batista sucks" chants. Just put it that way.
Moments might get edited, censored, or dubbed over. For a variety of reasons, this means the only way to see what really happened is by watching a live version of the show in question.
Do you think it should be deleted from Peacock?
People take stuff that you said 20-something years ago in a different context, in a different world, and they bring it in today's woke world, and they want to cancel you for something you said that was, it's not like you hit it. I said it in the middle of a wrestling ring in front of 15,000 people, in front of national TV audience and a global audience as well.
For this video, we'll be highlighting times where companies erased or censored footage and music from their broadcasts. We'll also tell the stories behind it all.
And so The Rock saw it and said, I don't want that to air. And it never aired. And it's a shame because it was the right thing to do for the business, for where we were going. But I guess it wasn't the right thing for The Rock's reputation.
Today we list 10 deleted WWE moments. Ric Flair's had numerous controversial moments that had to be retrospectively scrubbed from streaming or edited out of broadcasts altogether.
I don't think so, motherfucker. I got you now. The Rock. You are a killing legend. And you know how many I have made holler, scream, and bleed. You're out of your mind.
Part of Ric's nickname refers to him as the kiss-stealing son of a gun. Usually, whenever he stole a smooch on screen, the lady on the receiving end was a willing participant. This was not the case at the 2016 Royal Rumble, when in kayfabe, Flair forced himself onto Becky Lynch during a match with Ric's daughter, Charlotte. In her audiobook, Becky revealed that she and Charlotte came up with the spot.
Of course, now we can admonish someone for the idea of an elderly father violating his daughter's young friend without consent live on pay-per-view. But after all, he wasn't any old dad. He was Ric Flair. I felt good about all of this malarkey. If nothing else, it was fun.
However, it was met with much backlash thereafter, especially when WWE included it in a teaser clip for the match on YouTube.
Oh, no. What? Are you kidding?
From there, the video was taken down, and the kiss was edited off the network and all future versions of the show.
Oh, no.
Becky also mentioned how Vince McMahon was fuming backstage upon witnessing the kiss.
I don't watch any of my matches back, so I couldn't tell you all the things that I didn't like. But I do know that Vince absolutely lost his mind in Gorilla over Ric Flair kissing me. It has since been erased from history, probably for the best.
Vince had no issues with this next entry. In fact, he was adamant about booking it. We're referring to when Stone Cold Steve Austin gave Arn Anderson a golden shower on the June 3rd, 2002 Raw. Austin didn't want to do it and pushed back after being told about the skit. Nevertheless, McMahon was persistent, to the point where Arn believes the boss may have had ulterior motives. Anderson discussed this on his podcast.
Do I suspect foul play and a reason in his mind to be doing it? Yes. Could be punishment for leaving the way I did.
Wait, really? You think that this is Vince punishing you for 89?
Do I think that's a possibility? Yep, I know that he waits a very, very long time if he feels like you have screwed him.
Arn also reflected on how disrespectful and humiliating the segment was.
It was just so degrading and demeaning. You know what popped up in my head when the first thing they said, told me about it, we want Austin pee all over you. My wife and kids.
If nature ain't calling right now. No, wait a minute. Oh my God.
It's no surprise how critical Stone Cold was of creative during this period. All this ultimately influenced the Rattlesnake's decision to walk out on WWE just a week later. Anderson theorized what would have happened had he refused to take part in the segment, especially given how invested Vince was in the angle. McMahon was notorious for how much he enjoyed toilet humor.
Anything that he comes up with that is his idea that he wants to do for whatever reason, you could say no, find other employment.
Vince famously put up with a lot of Shawn Michaels' behavior back in the 90s. Shawn did so many crazy things when McMahon was present, so imagine what Michaels got up to during a TV taping where Vince was absent, that being the September 15th, 97 Raw. On this night, the Heartbreak Kid went nuts during an in-ring interview with Jim Ross. JR was in charge while McMahon was gone, but all HBK did was mess with the Oklahoman.
JR took it as, because Vince wasn't there, we thought we could do anything we wanted, and it really had nothing to do with that, we just had fun.
Jim remembered the promo on his Grilling JR podcast.
He loaded his drawers with 2 socks, so it looked like he had a giant bulge, and that was distasteful. It was childish, immature, unprofessional.
Because of Shawn's behavior, the segment was heavily edited once it aired. Michaels was also fined $10,000 for his antics.
I can't say that there was a lot of method to it. It was me having fun.
Although upon viewing the raw footage, Vince felt it might be time for a change within the WWF.
Bruce points to that interview and says that this is when Vince coined the phrase attitude. You know, we're about to be knee deep in the attitude era, and apparently he was excusing Shawn's behavior here, saying he's showing attitude.
The Monday Night War docuseries was one of the WWE Network's biggest selling points upon launching in 2014. A big part of the show was the rise of the New World Order and its formation at Bash at the Beach 96. The group had so much heat, an angry fan jumped the rail to get at Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and the newly heel Hogan. Nash took care of the intruder before security finally intervened.
We got a fan coming in.
I had to clip a guy. Some fat drunk came underneath the bottom rope. I had to clip him.
Our feeling was, you're allowed to yell and scream and come and enjoy the show and yell and scream all you want. You're not allowed to touch the wrestlers. You're not allowed to throw things at the wrestlers. You're certainly not allowed to come over the rail into the ring.
This moment was highlighted in the Monday Night Wars NWO episode, but was completely edited off the network's version of Bash at the Beach.
I guess this is what it was. Look at the ring.
WWE does their best to edit out all legitimate fan run-ins from future airings of their shows. However, most audience invasions from WCW have been left intact on streaming. It's possible that the Federation saw fit to only remove the Bash at the Beach one, due to how historic the NWO formation was. Kevin reflected on the incident during an episode of his Click This podcast.
It says in 1996, at the Bash, that fan that jumped in the ring, what did you say to him before you punched him?
No, I didn't punch him. I hit him with a slipper, elbow.
Okay. Did you say you exchange any words? Not much to say, I guess, right?
I just looked at his hands and made sure he didn't have a shiv.
A gimmick, yeah.
To avoid paying for popular licensed songs, ECW utilized a loophole where such music could be played as long as it was only heard ambiently. Paul Heyman was going to use this as an excuse until lawyers sent him cease and desist letters, to where then he would stop. WWE were much more stringent when using copyrighted songs, hence why all the classic songs ECW used without permission have now been dubbed over on streaming platforms. The Federation were, however, willing to shell out for perhaps the most iconic song ever used in the Extreme promotion, that being Metallica's Enter Sandman at the 2005 One Night Stand reunion show.
And then when that music hit, when Enter the Sandman, it was live. They never piped it in. It didn't air on the replay. But that was the happiest I've ever been, because I was just like, this pay-per-view was going better than I had expected, and now this was my time to perform. And if you go back and just watch that whole entrance, because to me that was a great way to say goodbye to ECW.
The company coughed up an astronomical amount for the one-time use of the Sandman's famous entrance theme. As such, replays of the show feature a dubbed over track. On the Extreme Conversations podcast, Brian Myers discussed with former ECW talent Jeff Jones just how much WWE paid for Enter Sandman.
I had heard WWE, when they did the One Night Stand, paid $1 million one-time use.
I heard it was one time, and that's why you've never heard it again since that original airing. I don't know the number figure. I know it was a lot of money, though. Yeah.
The Sandman claims Metallica demanded so much because Vince refused to let them play it at SummerSlam back in the 90s. The 5-time ECW champion revealed this in an interview provided by Title Match Wrestling.
They wanted to play SummerSlam for free, so Vince didn't know who Metallica was, so Vince declined. So then when they went to use my music, usually anybody else gets charged like in between $25,000 and $50,000 to use it. And Phil says, you know what? Screw Vince. I want $3 million to use that music for my entrance. That's when they changed my entrance music.
Wow.
For as raunchy and risque as the Attitude Era was, there were only a few times we saw instances of flashing or purposeful wardrobe malfunctions, one of which came at Capital Carnage 98, courtesy of Jacqueline. Since this was a UK exclusive pay-per-view, the WWF could experiment and test the waters to see what they could get away with. If Jacqueline being exposed went down well, or didn't incur any issues, the company would probably be willing to try something like this on a US show, which was what ended up happening. Jacqueline's moment was shown uncensored live. Her exposure was subsequently blurred out in all future replays. Mark Miro, who was in the match, spoke about the moment during an interview with WSI.
Obviously, it was planned, and we had to kind of rehearse in a sense. We didn't go through the whole thing, but we knew what was going to happen and how it was going to happen. And it was a young man's dream. You guys seem a lot more free than some of our restrictions on women that are topless and things like that. So I think that's maybe the thought behind it was, no one's going to really be bothered by it, or no one's going to care.
Vince Russo didn't attend the event and wasn't involved in booking the show. However, in an interview with John Paz, the former head writer defended Jacqueline's top coming off.
I know in my mind, Jacqueline has no problem with this. These were athletes, bro, that spent so much time working on their bodies that, it was no different than, the Ultimate Warrior going out there and people saying, holy shit.
By 2003, WWE did away with UK pay-per-views in favor of annual episodes of Raw and SmackDown. These would air on a tape delay, meaning the company could sweeten the crowd chants to their liking. A notable example of this occurred on the April 25th 05 Raw, when Christian wrestled world champion Batista. On the night, fans cheered the heel Captain Charisma and favored him over the champ. Then once the episode aired, the cheers for Christian were removed since he wasn't being pushed strongly at the time. Christian has cited this as one of the catalysts for him leaving WWE later in the year. He knew they weren't going to go with him despite the audience's approval, as he remained a heel for his remaining 6 months with the company. While talking to Chris Van Vliet, Christian spoke of his frustrations after realizing his positive reactions were edited out.
And he was the biggest babyface star in the company, and I was supposed to be heel, and they booed him out of the building, and they cheered for me. And when that aired in the United States, you didn't hear any "We want Christian, Batista sucks" chants. Just put it that way. So after we came back, he said, "What are they doing with you, man?" He goes, they have to do something. And I was like, I don't know. So that was kind of me, the writing on the wall. I was like, nothing's going to change unless I change it myself.
Let's look at another tape show as we go back to 1999. That year, The Rock and Mick Foley were two of the funniest wrestlers in the business. Although one of their most comedic moments together never actually made the air, it went down on the February 1st, 99 Raw, when they were bitter rivals embroiled in a feud. On the show, the Great One's voice was noticeably croakier than usual.
If you know what's good for you, The Rock.
The longer the promo went on, the more Rock continued to lose his voice.
We'll get this straight.
The Brahma Bull had become hoarse. He restarted numerous times as Mankind watched on in laughter.
And give The Rock his 90. Must be puberty.
Since it was a tape show, Rock and Foley knew they could afford to find comedy in the situation, hence why they broke character. The People's Champ was usually razor sharp on the mic, especially as a heel, so it's fun to see him slip up for once. This was made all the better thanks to he and Mick's hilarious reactions. Our penultimate entry also involves an unaired Rock moment, and there's an interesting story as to why it got scrapped. Historically, WWE pay-per-views were famous for their elaborate intro packages which hyped up events. These cold opens usually highlighted the upcoming main event. SummerSlam 2002 was the only pay-per-view that year which didn't feature an opening video. That's because on the day of the show, The Rock didn't like the piece that had been made hyping his match with Brock Lesnar. The Great One wasn't happy with some of Paul Heyman's comments knocking Rock for becoming an actor.
The truth is, you've been living a lie, Mr. Hollywood. By the whorish promise of tinsel starring in an illusory world of make-believe.
They were said as a way to heat up Lesnar since the People's Champ was going back to Hollywood after the match.
There are no second takes. And your co-star is no celluloid hero.
Former WWE creative director Dave Sahardi was in charge of making the video. On the podcast Heat Network, Dave showcased the cold open package and revealed how Rock got it nixed.
I found out a couple days later that Brian Gervitz, who was one on the creative team, but he's also Rock's personal writer. He would write all the promos for The Rock. He saw that cold open during the day, and he told The Rock, "Hey, you have to see this cold open. I think it buries you. I think Sahardi's burying you in this cold open," which I wasn't. And so The Rock saw it and said, "I don't want that to air," and it never aired. And it's a shame because it was the right thing to do for the business, for where we were going. But I guess it wasn't the right thing for The Rock's reputation, so it got killed.
When WWE launched on Peacock in 2021, several controversial segments had to be deleted. These moments had previously been left intact on the DVD and network. This includes JBL's promo at Judgment Day 2004 in LA before his match with Eddie Guerrero. Bradshaw's lines were considered too offensive and discriminatory towards Mexicans, hence the removal.
I know that a lot of you swam an awful long way and climbed a bunch of fences to get here. Save a spot on the raft for Eddie Guerrero to take him back to that third world you call Mexico. So for those of you who need a translator, look to an American near you and ask him to translate to English.
In 2025, on the Something to Wrestle podcast, JBL addressed his promo being edited off Judgment Day.
Listen, some of that stuff doesn't age well. I get that with modern sensitivities and things like that, but do you think it should be deleted from Peacock?
No, I don't think so. But you know what? I don't mind it because, a lot of stuff, people take stuff that you said 20-something years ago in a different context, in a different world, and they bring it in today's woke world, and they want to cancel you for something you said that was, it's not like you hit it. I said it in the middle of a wrestling ring in front of 15,000 people, in front of national TV audience and a global audience as well. And so, but, I can understand them cutting out things that are controversial. I get it, but it's either a work or it isn't. And if you're saying it's a work, let it be a work, but I understand it. No complaints.
Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out a similar video of 10 WWE ideas wrestlers pitched that Vince McMahon refused. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.